stones. Conversely, these stones themselves became the emblem of that condition of self-achieved godhood. The unchangeability of the stone made it an appropriate emblem of God, the immovable and unchangeable source of existence, and also of the divine sciences, the eternal revelation of himself to mankind as the personification of the rational intellect, which is the true foundation of human life. Mercury, or Hermes, was symbolized in a like manner. Square or cylindrical pillars, surmounted by a bearded head of Hermes and called Herm, were set up in public places. Terminus, a form of Jupiter and god of boundaries and highways, from whose name is derived the modern word terminal, was also symbolized by an upright stone, sometimes ornamented with the head of the god, which was placed at the borders of provinces and the intersections of important roads. The philosopher's stone is really the philosophical stone, for philosophy is truly likened to a magic jewel whose touch transmutes base substances into priceless gems like itself. Wisdom is the alchemist's powder of projection which transforms many thousand times its own weight of gross ignorance into the precious substance of enlightenment. The Tablets of the Law. While upon the heights of Mount Sinai, Moses received from Jehovah 2 tablets bearing the characters of the Decalogue traced by the very finger of Israel's God. These tables were fashioned from the divine sapphire, Shethi, which the Most High, after removing from his own throne, had cast into the abyss to become the foundation and generator of the worlds. This sacred stone, formed of heavenly dew, was sundered by the breath of God, and upon the 2 parts were drawn in black fire the figures of the law. These precious inscriptions, aglow with celestial splendor, were delivered by the Lord on the Sabbath day into the hands of Moses, who was able to read the illumined letters from the reverse side because of the transparency of the great jewel. See the Secret Doctrine in Israel or the Zohar for details of this legend. The 10 Commandments are the 10 shining gems placed by the Holy One in the sapphire sea of being, and in the depths of matter the reflections of these jewels are seen as the laws governing the sublunary spheres. They are the sacred 10 by which the Supreme Deity has stamped his will upon the face of nature. This same decad was celebrated by the Pythagoreans under the form of a tetractys, that triangle of spermatic points which reveals to the initiated the whole working of the cosmic scheme. For 10 is the number of perfection, the key to creation, and the proper symbol of God, man, and the universe. Because of the idolatry of the Israelites, Moses deemed the people unworthy to receive the sapphire tables. Hence he destroyed them, that the mysteries of Jehovah should not be violated. For the original set Moses substituted 2 tablets of rough stone into the surface of which he had cut 10 ancient letters. While the former tables, partaking of the divinity of the tree of life, blazed forth eternal verities, the latter, partaking of the nature of the tree of good and evil, revealed only temporal truths. Thus the ancient tradition of Israel returned again to heaven, leaving only its shadow with the children of the 12 tribes. One of the 2 tables of stone delivered by the lawgiver to his followers stood for the oral, the other for the written traditions upon which the rabbinical school was founded. Authorities differ widely as to the size and substance of the inferior tables. Some describe them as being so small that they could be held in the hollow of a man's hand. Others declare that each table was 10 or 12 cubits in length and of enormous weight. A few even deny that the tables were of stone, maintaining that they were of a wood called cedr, which, according to the Mohammedans, grows profusely in paradise. The 2 tables signify respectively the superior and the inferior worlds, the paternal and the maternal formative principles. In their undivided state they represent the cosmic androgen. The breaking of the table signifies obscurely the separation of the superior and the inferior spheres and also the division of the sexes. In the religious processionals of the Greeks and Egyptians an ark or ship was carried which contained stone tablets, cones, and vessels of various shapes emblematic of the procreative processes. The Ark of the Israelites, which was patterned after the sacred chests of the Asiatic mysteries, contained 3 holy objects, each having an important phallic interpretation: the pot of manna, the rod that budded, and the tablets of the law, the first, second, and third principles of the creative triad. The manna, the blossoming staff, and the stone tables are also appropriate images respectively of the Kabbalah, the Mishnah, and the written law, the spirit, soul, and body of Judaism. When placed in King Solomon's everlasting house, the Ark of the Covenant contained only the tablets of the law. Does this indicate that even at that early date the secret tradition had been lost and the letter of the revelation alone remained? As representing the power that fabricated the lower, or demiurgic, sphere, the tablets of stone were sacred to Jehovah in contradistinction to the tablets of sapphire that signified the potency that established the higher, or celestial, sphere. Without doubt the Mosaic tablets have their prototype in the stone pillars or obelisks placed on either side of the entrance to pagan temples. These columns may pertain to that remote time when men worshipped the Creator through his zodiacal sign of Gemini, the symbol of which is still the phallic pillars of the celestial twins. The Ten Commandments, writes Hargreave Jennings, are inscribed in 2 groups of 5 each, in columnar form. The 5 to the right looking from the altar mean the law. The 5 to the left mean the prophets. The right stone is masculine, the left stone is feminine. They correspond to the 2 disjoined pillars of stone or towers in the front of every cathedral, and of every temple in the heathen times. See the Rosicrucians, their rites and mysteries. The same author states that the law is masculine because it was delivered direct from the deity, while the prophets, or gospels, were feminine because born through the nature of man. The right tablet of the law further signifies Jachin, the white pillar of light. The left tablet, Boaz, the shadowy pillar of darkness. These were the names of the 2 pillars cast from brass set up on the porch of King Solomon's temple. They were 18 cubits in height and beautifully ornamented with wreaths of chainwork, nets, and pomegranates. On the top of each pillar was a large bowl, now erroneously called a ball or globe, one of the bowls probably containing fire and the other water. The celestial globe, originally the bowl of fire, surmounting the right-hand column Jachin, symbolized the divine man. The terrestrial globe, the bowl of water, surmounting the left-hand column Boaz, signified the earthly man. These 2 pillars respectively connote also the active and the passive expressions of divine energy, the sun and the moon, sulfur and salt, good and bad, light and darkness. Between them is the door leading into the house of God, and standing thus at the gates of sanctuary they are a reminder that Jehovah is both an androgynous and an anthropomorphic deity. As 2 parallel columns they denote the zodiacal signs of Cancer and Capricorn, which were formerly placed in the chamber of initiation to represent birth and death, the extremes of physical life. They accordingly signify the summer and the winter solstices, now known to Freemasons under the comparatively modern appellation of the 2 St. Johns. In the mysterious Sephirotic tree of the Jews, these 2 pillars symbolize mercy and severity. Standing before the gate of King Solomon's temple, these columns had the same symbolic import as the obelisks before the sanctuaries of Egypt. When interpreted Kabbalistically, the names of the 2 pillars mean "in strength shall my house be established." In the splendor of mental and spiritual illumination, the high priest stood between the pillars as a mute witness to the perfect virtue of equilibrium, that hypothetical point equidistant from all extremes. He thus personified the divine nature of man in the midst of his compound constitution, the mysterious Pythagorean monad in the presence of the duad. On one side towered the stupendous column of the intellect. On the other, the brazen pillar of the flesh. Midway between these 2 stands the glorified wise man, but he cannot reach this high estate without first suffering upon the cross made by joining these pillars together. The early Jews occasionally represented the 2 pillars, Jachin and Boaz, as the legs of Jehovah, thereby signifying to the modern philosopher that wisdom and love, in their most exalted sense, support the whole order of creation, both mundane and supramundane. Insert. Moses receiving the tables of the law. From an old Bible. Moses Maimonides, the great Jewish philosopher of the 12th century, in describing the tables of the law written by the finger of God, divides all productions into 2 general orders: products of nature and products of art. God works through nature and man through art, he asserts in his Guide for the Perplexed. Thus the word of the Lord is the hand, or active principle, by which the will of the Creator is traced upon the face of his creation. The Tannim, or initiates of the Jewish mystery school, alone possessed a complete understanding of the significance of the 10 Commandments. These laws are esoterically related to the 10 degrees of contemplation constituting the path of ecstasy, which winds upward through